So this class is going to build upon the foundation that we already laid in the previous sequences in this series, and we're going to add a new one. So as always, make everything yours. Feel free to omit things, modify things, use assistance with things, to watch it and come back to it later, take breaks when you need to. Essentially just make it entirely your own, okay? That is the most important part of our practice here on our mats. So let's begin in a tabletop position today. Going to be more towards the back. We'll end up moving forward, so you don't want to start too close to the top. I like my toes tucked under. And in your tabletop, I want you to knit your low ribs in and slightly tuck your tail under. So not so much that we're rounding, just so that we're maintaining this nice flat back, length through the crown of our head, all the way through our tailbone. Wonderful. Let's shift our weight so far forward that our fingertips have to catch us. They are our brakes. Try to keep your arms as straight as possible, and then send your hips back toward your heels. Depending on your lever lengths, you might not get super low. Let's bring it back forward, far as we can. Really use those fingertips driving into your mat, grabbing a hold of the floor to stop you, and then bring it back. And last one. Take a shift forward and a shift back. Wonderful. This time untuck your toes, walk your hands about a palm's distance out in front of you. Take a breath in as you tense up onto your fingertips and walk them over to one side. So what I like to do here is shift forward, peel my thumb up toward the ceiling, plant down through my pinky side of my hand, and then glide back into it. Really getting that stretch along our side body here. If you want to look up or down or side to side, maybe over or under one shoulder or the other, feel free to do so. If you want to find a little sway through your hips, also feel free. Make sure that you're really getting from these shapes what it is that you need. And then let's come back through center and over to the opposite side. Same thing, shift forward, peel open, ground down, and then slide back, and then explore. Let's bring it back through center, hands out in front. We're going to take a big circle around. So I'm going to kick my right hip over to my right side, come forward, extending my legs, more or less like a cobra pose. Kick my hip over to the opposite side and then glide back. Once your hips find your heels, we're going to reverse. So opposite hip out to the side, bringing it forward and around. We'll do 2 more circles. Bringing it over in one direction, as well as the opposite direction. Hanging out in any of those sticky places that maybe you need to spend more time in, and last circle in each way, each direction, around. Hips come toward our heels for just a moment, tabletop. Coming forward. Let's extend our right leg, left arm out long, and then bring the elbow and knee toward one another underneath the body. Really press the floor away. Take a breath in as you extend, and then draw it in. And last one, extend, and crunch it in. Wonderful. We'll extend once more, and then allow your right knee to come to the floor, windshield wipe through your right leg, peeling open through the left, extend it, pinky edge of the foot roots down, and opposite arm can open up towards the ceiling. So I really want you to press into that back foot, maybe have your right toes tucked under, press into your right hand, and see if you can lift and hover your right knee. If you're there, I want you to bring your legs towards one another. Maybe you can float those back toes off of the mat, and then bring it down. Let's close it off, and down. And once more, close, and down. Knee finds the floor, put a bend in that back leg, cartwheel or glide your hands over toward that back corner, and then explore this position for yourself. Maybe sit up tall, press your knee away from your body, press your knee in towards the outside of your left arm. You can really open up through your chest, maybe round through your back, maybe straighten a little bit through that leg, play with the position of the foot, Lots of different things that you could do here. You can even wind yourself up, looking towards the opposite back corner of your mat, getting a little bit twisty. Or you can just hang out. You don't have to get too fancy. From here, let's glide our fingertips toward the top left corner of our mat. Shift forward and cross your left ankle over top of your right thigh. I'm going to windshield wipe this right leg in a little bit so it's not off of my mat, and then sit my hips back. So you have a little bit of room to play here as well. Maybe you bring this knee in towards your elbow. If you have the mobility, you can glide your right leg out of the way, so forward, and then sit into kind of this half lotus position and come back out. Maybe you reach your arms toward the back corner of the mat. Maybe you're staying up at the top and reaching towards the opposite top corner. Just make it work for you. Perhaps you're sitting up tall, finding some extension through your spine. Maybe you're rounding, finding that deep, deep flexion. But if you can, I'd like you to see if you can close the distance between your elbows, backs of your arms here, and your shin. So this is what position we're going to be in for our flying pigeon pose today. So it's a good idea to test out that range even now. All right, let's come out of this. Fingertips glide towards the top of our mat. We're going to uncross and step the leg outside. We're going to square our hips off, and we are in a lizard lunge. Roll your shoulders back, bring your gaze out in front, take a breath in, nice and proud through our chest. And then as you exhale, toes towards your face, straighten out through that front leg, draw those toes back, super strong. Breath in as you bend, tuck your back knee, lift your back leg up, drive your chest forward. And breath out, straighten both of your legs, square through those hips, maybe bring your nose toward your shin. The next time you bend that front leg, continue to shift forward and step to the outside of your right hand with your right foot. You can sit down into a yogi squat, malasana. You have the option to take any of those arm balances we've been working on here, maybe a crow pose, little tripod headstand. You can bring your forearms down and do a baby crow. Whatever works for you, or you can just kind of hang out in that yogi squat. That's okay too. Really get that weight shift forward. Woo, it's tough for me today. Toes come back down, heels down, straighten through both of your legs, finding your forward fold. So you take a breath in, bend through both of your knees, rise up to standing, bring your left knee in toward your chest with you. So you exhale, cross the ankle over the right thigh and sit down into your figure 4 chair pose. Want to get low here, so see if you can get those elbows in towards that shin. I'm too far towards the top of my mat, so I'm going to take a little scoot back. We're going to come into our flying pigeon here. So get low, low as you can. This is about as far as my mobility allows. I'm going to bring my hands down on my mat, shift forward, really hook the outside of my right arm with my left toes. Keep shifting forward, keep looking forward, and then find that point where my toes just float up off of the mat. Woo! Let your toes find the floor. Uncross your leg. Use your hand for assistance if you need it. Let's inhale to rise back up. Left knee comes back in toward our chest. And as you exhale, step that left leg behind the right. Right fingertips down, left fingertips up. Drive your left heel down into the floor. Wonderful. Breath in, knee comes in toward the chest, right arm up. Breath out, switch your arms. Generous step back with your left leg. Hands find the floor. Right heel comes in. Extend that right leg up. Bend your knee, stack your hip open. And square back up. Right knee finds the floor. And right arm extends. Go ahead, lift those left toes. And then elbow and knee come toward one another. Breath in to extend. And out to close. And once more, breath in. And breath out. Let that left knee find the floor. Windshield wipe open, extend through the right leg. Circle your right arm over. Really root down through this hand and that foot. Maybe tuck your left toes under and see if you can find that lift and hover of the knee. If you have that, bring your knees together. Close those inner thighs toward one another. Open it up and close it off. Open and close. And last one to open and close. This time as you open, knee finds the floor, top arm closes off. Glide your hands around towards that back foot. I like to turn my heel in and then bend through that back knee. So explore a little bit here. Maybe you circle through your hip. Maybe you pivot around to really get into this outer hip, opening up through that back knee. Maybe you're finding that deep flexion through your hip. Perhaps you walk your forearms underneath that back leg. Maybe you sit up tall. This is all up to you. And one side might be different than the other. You don't have to do the same thing on each side. We're not symmetrical. So take another moment and then let your hands find the floor and glide them across to the top corner of your mat. When I do this, I'm going to windshield wipe my back leg and then take my right leg and cross it over the left thigh. Once there, you can sit your hips back, maybe walk your hands toward the left top corner of your mat. Maybe you bring your right knee in toward your right elbow. Perhaps you windshield wipe this left leg and then sit down into a half lotus position. You can come in and out a few times. That feels really good in my body. But something else might feel good in yours. So try things out. Be mindful of your knee. So if your knee feels like it's gonna give, or it's popping out of place, or it's giving you trouble, rather than your outer hip getting a stretch, I want you to back off. We don't want to be feeling stuff on the front or sides of our knee. So let's come back into that figure four tabletop. If you were out of it, unthread, step outside of your right pinky finger. Take a breath in, shoulders roll back, gaze goes forward, lizard. And a breath out, straighten through that front leg, draw the toes toward your face, sit your hips back. Bend that front leg, tuck and lift the back. And then straighten through that front leg once again, hips high, square, right hip draws back, left hip draws forward. And then bend, shift, and step outside. You can sit low into your malasana. You can use your elbows to encourage your knees to open up. You can take any arm balance or float that you would like to take, maybe even a little tripod, little handstand, anything at all. Toes find the floor, straighten through your legs, heel toe your feet together if they weren't already. Bend through your knees as you inhale, bring your right knee in toward your chest, arms rise. And then cross it over as you sit down into your figure four chair. Make sure you've got a flex in those toes. This is our hook that's going to keep us on our arms as we move into our flying pigeon. So I'm going to scoot back just a smidgen. You want to really sit low, close the gap between your elbows or your triceps and your shin. This might be where you stay today. It's a good place to be. You might be able to get lower than me, maybe not. My hands are going to find the floor. I've got my hook in. I'm going to find this point where my weight shifts forward and then those back toes simply float up off of the mat. Ta-da. Toes find the floor. Uncross your leg. Bring your knee in toward your chest as your arms rise. And then exhale, step behind. Left fingertips to the floor. Right arm reaches over. Get that stretch through your side body. Root down through your right heel. Kick your right hip over to the right. Let's inhale to square back up. Reverse the arms. And exhale, extend right arm, right leg, generous step back. Hands find the floor, heel in towards the glute, extend the leg, bend the hip, stack open, square back up. Left knee finds the floor, left arm extends, right toes lift. Exhale, elbow and knee come towards one another. Inhale and extend. Exhale, right knee to the floor, open up to your gate pose. Close it off, glide across the long edge of your mats, bending that back leg, taking whatever movements, position that your body takes you to. Let's square back off to the front. This time we're just going to take a big step outside of our left hand, windshield wiping through our right leg. And breath in, lizard. And out, straighten. Bring it forward. This time tucking the toes, lifting the knee, and then straighten through that front leg. Let's go ahead and bend. Step it forward. Option for an arm balance of your choice. Toes find the floor. Forward fold. Bend through your knees. Left knee comes in toward the chest with us. And cross over. Figure four. Option four, your flying pigeon. Get low. Hands find the floor. Get those hooks. Find your shift. Ooh, and lift up. Foot finds the ground. Left knee comes back in toward our chest. And then step behind. Kick your left hip over to the left. Root down through that left heel. Peel open through your armpit. Right arm towards the ceiling. Left knee in. And then extend left arm, left leg. Generous bend through the right. Toe finds the floor. Hands frame. Heel in towards the glute. Extend the leg. Bend and stack. Square back up. Right knee down. Right arm extends. Lift those toes. Elbow and knee towards one another. Breath in to extend. And breath out. Left knee finds the floor. Windshield wipe. Open up to your gate. And then pivot to the back of your mat. Open up in any way that feels right for you today. And then we're going to square back up towards the top, stepping outside of the right hand with our right leg. Lizard lunge, roll your shoulders back. And half split, straighten through your front leg. Bend the front knee, tuck, lift the back, and then straighten that front leg, square your hips. Bend through your knee once again, continue to shift forward and step outside, finding your squat. From here, you can take a crow, baby crow, tripod, frog, whatever works for you today. Toes find the floor, forward fold, bend through your knees as you rise up. Right knee comes in toward the chest with you. Cross it over, sit it low. You know where we're going. Flying pigeon. So close the gap. Get that hook in. Hands find the floor. Find your weight shift. Keep your hips square. Find that point where your back toes float. Really continue to look out in front of you. That makes a big difference. Toes find the floor. Right knee comes back in toward our chest as we rise up. Step it behind. Left fingertips to the floor. Right arm reaches. Hip over to the side. Open up through that armpit. And then knee comes back in toward the chest. Reverse your arms. Extend that leg back. Bend through your standing leg. Find the floor. Hands frame. Heel to the glute. Lift it up. Bend and stack. And square back up. Knee to the floor. We're going to do it one more time. Extend your left arm, right leg, and close it off. Extend. And this time as you close, knee finds the floor. Open up to your gate pose. Come to the back, whatever form of opening you need here. And then pivot to the front. We're going to land in our lizard lunge. Breath in, proud chest, and out, straight leg. In, runners, and out, kind of a long pyramid. In, malasana, out, float option. In, forward fold, and out. Left knee in toward our chest. Woo, rise it up. Cross it over, sit it down. Option 4, your floating pigeon pose. Ooh, shift, lift. Keep those elbows in. Bring it back. Left knee in toward your chest. Rise up. Cross the leg behind. Straighten and reach. Knee comes back in toward our chest. Generous step back. Really keep weight in the pinky edge of your foot. It's the struggle for me today. Right heel lifts. Bend and stack. Square up. Knee finds the floor. Right arm extends. Crunch it in. Extend it out. Left knee down. Open to your gate. Bring it to the back. Lizard to the front. Pivot. Straighten through your leg. Bend, tuck and lift. And straighten. Shift forward. Malasana. Option to float. Bakasana, Kakasana, Balakakasana, what have you. Forward fold. Right knee comes in toward our chest as we rise. Cross it over and sit. Find those hooks. Hands find the floor. Shift. Find your float if you can. Foot down. Knee in toward our chest as we rise. Cross the leg behind. Find that side body stretch. Peel open, reach toward the floor, towards the corner of your room. Knee comes back in toward our chest and take a generous step back. Hands find the floor, heel to the glute, lift it up, bend and stack. Inhale to square back up. We're going to shift forward, coming into a pigeon pose, Ekapana, Rajakapatasana. So either knee behind the wrist or right in between. If pigeon's uncomfortable for you, you can bend your back leg. So we're in kind of a long 90-90. So something less than 90, something more than 90 at the back. You do you. If you need more intensity, you can bring this front shin more toward parallel with the top of your mat. And you can be active or passive here. I like to start out active, lifting up, imagining myself scrunching my mat underneath my body, really recruiting that back line, rolling shoulders back, pressing chest forward, finding length through the crown of the head, breathing, and then melting into it. So you can untuck those back toes, make a little pillow for your forehead, take a little rock side to side. Maybe walk your hands toward the bent side. So I'm going toward the left because this is my left leg. Maybe peeling open a little bit. Did a lot of outer hip work. And then let's square back up. Bring those hands underneath us. I'm going to sit onto my left hip and slide my right leg around, crossing it over at the top. I'm going to hug it in with my left arm, sit up tall, and then bring my gaze over my right shoulder. You can also bring your arm on the inside. This just feels better for me. Think about sitting your right hip down towards the floor, even if it's coming up. Energetically, think about that happening. Find that length through the crown of your head. Wonderful. Let's come through center. I'm going to turn my body toward the left. My hands are going to come down. I've got to get this heel out of the way. So I'm going to bring it out in front of the knee. I'm going to press down, lift up. I'm going to tuck those back toes under, lifting that knee up, and then continue to pivot until I'm facing the back of my mat. So I'm in kind of a staggered wide leg forward fold here. That's okay. Take a little sway side to side, and then continue that circle around. So I'm going towards what would be the right side of my mat. If I was facing forward, rock onto the balls of my feet, pivot, pivot, pivot. Okay, so now my toes are facing forward. I'm going to put a bend in my left knee, right knee, letting that knee come down to the floor, bringing that heel in, sitting up tall, hugging my left leg in, and then looking over my left shoulder. Lots of rights and lefts happening, but essentially we are in the same pose on the opposite side now. It's a complicated way of saying it. Let's square ourselves back up. I'm going to take this left leg, release it, bringing it back behind me, and now I'm in my pigeon on my right side. You can stay more of this 90-90 configuration or get up on top of it. If you want to start active, start active. Flex that front foot, roll your shoulders back, drive up through the crown of your head, squeeze your shoulder blades together, really activate these muscles on the outer hips. And then you can relax into it as you're feeling ready. Find that little bit of movement. Maybe let your forehead come down to your mat. And let's rise back up onto our forearms. Sit onto your right hip. Swing your left leg around and come to a seat. So if there are more stretches, more work, more positions, more things you feel like you need to do, you are welcome to do those things. But as for our journey together, we're going to close out right here.